Hello and welcome to today's meeting of Democrats of Greater Tucson. My name is Larry Bodine and I will be your host today. Our speaker today is Rex Scott. It's great to have you at DGT. Rex has worked in public schools, both as a teacher and as an administrator. Now, as a supervisor, he helped reach the agreement that kept Tucson in the Regional Transportation Authority. And he recently voted to end the mask mandate in Pima County because it was not enforceable. Rex wrote an op-ed that Tucson should not charge county residents more money for water. And most recently, he questioned why it is that the Omni Tucson National Resort has failed to switch to reclaimed water to irrigate all of its holes. And I understand the county has issued a deadline to them. So with that, Rex, the floor is yours.
Larry, thank you very much. And it's great to be back in front of the Democrats of Greater Tucson. It's hard to believe that the last time that I addressed you was shortly after I had declared my candidacy for this office. And we were still meeting live, and I got to be with all of you at the Kettle restaurant. And it was one of the first and turned out to be also one of the last live events of my campaign because we conducted the campaign throughout the pandemic. And certainly the pandemic has defined a great deal of everything that we've done as supervisors since I took office in January of 2021. Another transportation issue that I wanted to touch on for you is the plan that the county has to get all of our roads, the roads that we are responsible for in the unincorporated county, up to good condition by 2029 or 2030. That's a program that was passed unanimously, 5-0, by the previous Board of Supervisors. And let me tell you, it's tough to get a 5-0 vote out of any Board of Supervisors, but especially a board that was split 3-2 at that time between the Republicans and the Democrats. But the board approved that plan by a 5-0 vote. It uses a combination of state and local funds to deal with not only the repair of all of the roads in unincorporated Pima County, but also their maintenance. And the previous board, as well as our board, has also used the low interest rates to take advantage of a part of the policy that allows us to purchase some short-term debt using what are known as certificates of participation and infuse some additional funds into that program. We put an additional $130 million into the program this fiscal year as a result of that component of the policy, which allowed us to repair an additional 130 miles of road. We have a link underneath the roads and transportation section where you can see the list of roads that are set for repair this fiscal year, which ends on June 30th. This spring, the Citizens Advisory Committee for the Transportation Department is going to meet to take a look at the roads that will be targeted for the fiscal year that begins on July 1. The plan for any fiscal year is that the worst roads are done first with regard to neighborhood roads. If there's a road in your area that its pavement condition index is one of the worst on the current list, it's going to be done as well as roads within the same subdivision, so they don't have to keep coming back and doing the same subdivision. With regard to arterial and collector roads, there's been more progress made on those because there's fewer of them. The decision is based on pavement condition index. That the county assessed the condition of all the roads in the unincorporated county back in 2019. Each road was given a pavement condition index number, and it's the worst roads, the roads with the worst pavement condition indices that are taken care of first. And, back in 2019, when that assessment was done, 70% of the roads in unincorporated Pima County were judged to be in poor or failed condition. And that's not surprising. Statewide, Arizona's roads are given a D plus by Professional Engineers Association. The state, the county, and all of the incorporated jurisdictions around the state rely mostly on the state gasoline tax to pay for transportation costs. The state gasoline tax was last raised in 1992. So the county previously was trying to make use of bonds to pay for road repair and maintenance. But when successive bond packages were defeated, it went to this plan that uses a combination of local funds and state funds. And again, all of our roads will be up to good or better condition by 2029. You may have also seen that the Board of Supervisors just last week voted to join 11 other Arizona counties in using the vote center model instead of the precinct-based model for the precinct polling place model for live election day voting. And 70% of Pima County voters, on average, the number was higher in 2020 because of the pandemic, vote by mail. But for those who vote on election day, they will be able to vote in what are known as vote centers. And vote centers are not restricted geographically like precinct polling places are. You can vote in any vote center in the county, regardless of whether it's close to your home or close to your workplace or close to any place that you want to go on election day. Vote centers were authorized because counties are subdivisions of the state. Vote centers were authorized by the Arizona State Legislature back in 2011, I believe. And that was when those well-known liberals, Jan Brewer and Ken Bennett, were governor and secretary of state, and they were in favor of vote centers. When that legislation was passed by the Arizona legislature, there was one vote against it. One representative voted against it. None of the state senators voted against it. As I said, 11 of our counties are already making use of vote centers. And we think, and I stole a line from the letter of support for vote centers that we got from the League of Women Voters of Pima County. We think that vote centers will increase election security and efficiency, help to eliminate provisional ballots. By the way, 30% of the ballots cast at polling places in 2020 were provisional ballots. Allow for faster counting of votes and increase access to voting. And that's really the bottom line, is increasing access to voting. We also adopted something that is being used by every county in Arizona except for Pima, and that is what are known as e-poll books, electronic poll books, to verify, to check in voters and to verify their identity. And we are going with going with a company called 10X for those e-poll books. And one of the reasons that we're going with 10X is because they segregate each of the jurisdictions that they serve into their own rooms. That not only helps with connectivity, it also helps with security. There is one further step that we need to take with the vote centers, and that is that the elections division, not the recorder's office, the elections division is charged with giving us a list of vote centers that includes the number of vote centers that they're proposing and their locations. And one of the things that I asked the elections division to take into consideration is the fact that the local Republican Party following the lead of former President Trump, has been encouraging its voters to vote only in person on election day. And so I think when we come up with the number and location of vote centers, one of the factors we need to take into account is areas that have a significant number of registered Republican voters, because they're probably going to have more in-person voters in 2022 as a result. Are going to need to lose some voters. District 3 can pretty much stay the same in terms of the numbers, and then districts 2 and 5 are going to need to gain voters. What that'll look like in terms of boundaries, we will find out. And I should point out that the supervisor boundaries are also the boundaries for the people who represent you on the Pima Community College Governing Board. Also want to direct you today or anytime to our website. We try to make it not only a great resource if you want to know everything that we've been working on as a District 1 team, but not only will that website give you a great idea of what the 4 of us have been working on, it'll also give you a sense of everything that's going on in Pima County. You can connect to the main Pima County website. You can also connect to the websites for the other 4 supervisors. And I am the county's representative to the RTA board, the governor's representative to the Arizona State Transportation Board, and that is General Ted Maxwell. He's the Southern Arizona representative to the State Transportation Board. And I'm pleased to tell you that at our January meeting, as Larry indicated in his introduction, we were able to unanimously pass a proposal that was brought to us by General Maxwell that really was very persuasive in terms of ensuring that the city of Tucson was going to stay with the development of an RTA Next plan. The current RTA plan expires in 2026, and our goal is to get an RTA Next plan that covers the period 2026 to 2046 on the ballot, most likely in 2024, so it can be reviewed by the voters and hopefully approved by the voters and be ready to replace the current RTA plan when it expires in 2026. And the guts of General Maxwell's proposal was that he incorporated a proposal that I made back in the fall, which was to make sure that the membership of the Citizens Advisory Committee, and the Citizens Advisory Committee is a 35-member group that is charged with drawing up the RTA Next plan for review by the community, approval by the RTA board, and then submission to the ballot. I propose that Citizens Advisory Committee have its membership be aligned based on population. That is going to give the city of Tucson, which is about 52% of our area's population, 18 of those members, and the remaining members are split between the unincorporated county and the other jurisdictions. So that was part of his proposal. He also proposed adding a new member from the city of Tucson to what's known as the Technical Management Committee, which is an important committee in terms of the operation of the RTA. He proposed identifying the funding needed to complete the projects that are part of the original RTA. Many of those projects are within the city of Tucson, but there's also a project within the county and another project within the town of Marana. And then consider increasing the number of jurisdictional appointments to the Citizens Accountability for Regional Transportation Committee, also known as the CART, to add 2 members from the city and 1 member from the county. That's the group that oversees the RTA plan once it's passed by the voters. And then also to incorporate periodic 5 or 10-year review of remaining projects as we go through the adoption of the new plan. As I said, that was passed unanimously, that plan by the RTA board. And now what I encourage all of you to do is pay attention to the Citizens Advisory Committee, that 35-member group, as it seeks to develop a new RTA plan so that we can have the community forums where the community gets to review and respond to that plan, approval by the RTA board, and then submission to the ballot. I'm very proud of what we've been doing for the county to take a lead role in reducing barriers to access to quality early childhood education. We had the capacity this year, because of the funds that we've devoted to scholarships for low-income families that want to send their kids to preschool. We had the capacity to help about 1,200 kids this year. We've only been able to help 600 because of some of the effects the pandemic has had on preschool education. And I think that that program is going to be even more successful moving forward into the coming school year, because we have multi-year intergovernmental agreements with the school districts. That means that they're able to post their preschool positions, because we're working not just with the school districts, but also with nonprofit preschool providers. They're able to post their positions, the school districts are, at the same time that they're posting all of their other teaching positions. So you're going to be able to see a substantial increase in the number of low-income families that are going to be able to take advantage of this. All of our partner school districts are talking about having more classrooms in place next year for preschool. So we're excited about that. Wanted to also let you know about the lawsuit that the county has filed against the city of Tucson, which we did not want to do, dealing with the higher water rates that they are charging, that Tucson Water is charging only to people, only to ratepayers who live in the unincorporated county. That the city requested a change of venue to Maricopa County. That change of venue request was granted, and the case has been assigned to a Maricopa County judge. The city has responded to the county's claims in the lawsuit. If you want to see a link to the lawsuit, there is one on our website. Also wanted to encourage you, when you're on our website, to read the latest update about the Mosaic Quarter, also known as the Keno Sports and Entertainment Complex. This is going to be an exciting place for youth and adult sports in Pima County. It's going to include an iceplex that will be not only a place for a lot of youth and adult hockey leagues that exist. Yes, they do. Here in Southern Arizona, it is a hotbed for hockey, but it is also going to be the new home for the Arizona Ice Cats. And there will also be a field house and a sportsplex that will host a lot of local adult and youth volleyball and basketball leagues, field hockey leagues, and also tournaments from around the country. And you can read the business plan on the county's website, but you can also see all the updates from the developer for that public-private partnership that we've embarked on our website. I just want to thank you for all the work that so many of you did on behalf of my campaign back in 2020. As Larry pointed out, we only won by 730 votes, but we now have a 4-1 Democratic majority on the Pima County Board of Supervisors for the first time that I can ever remember, certainly since I've lived in Pima County, and I am the first Democrat to represent District 1 since Ron Asta was elected in 1972. And that was the last Democrat to represent this district. So I'm grateful to all of you for your support and your kindness. And if there's anything that I can ever do to be of assistance or support to you or your families, I hope you'll be in touch with our office.
All right, no problem. We've got you covered, Rex.
My question for you is, why are you in opposition to a $15 minimum wage for Pima County? I think you and Sharon are both holdouts on that vote?
Well, I'm not in opposition to it. What I'm in opposition to is that a decision of that import being made solely by the Board of Supervisors. Minimum wage is fundamentally a federal responsibility, and it's shameful that the federal government has not raised the minimum wage since 2009. As a result, a lot of states and local jurisdictions have put minimum wage increases on their ballots. And when the Arizona voters authorized the last minimum wage increase, it included that ballot measure included permission for local governments to raise their minimum wage within their jurisdictional boundaries as long as it was higher than the state minimum wage at the time. What I said to the Fight for 15 folks is that the same people who put the Tucson measure on the city's ballot is that if you want Pima County to be the only one of 15 counties to take that kind of step, then get the signatures that you need to put that on the county ballot. I'll be your first endorser. But it's inappropriate for a decision of that import to be made just by 3 people. And so I'm not opposed to it. I have voted for minimum wage increases anytime they've been on any ballot that's been in front of me. But I don't think that a decision of that significance should be made solely by a 3-person majority of the Board of Supervisors.
Hey, thanks for explaining that. There was a question about the redistricting for Pima County. We wanted a little more clarification as to whether that body is independent and how the members are appointed.
The way the members are appointed is each supervisor appoints one person to represent their district. And each one of the 5 of us have appointed a commissioner, a redistricting commissioner, and you can see their names on the Pima County website. And then they work with county staff to put together maps that they then submit to the board for the board's approval. That's the process that all counties follow for redistricting.
I guess a follow-up on that would be, do you have any concerns about the independence of that process, concerns about possible gerrymandering within the counties, and any recommendations or ideas about improving the process?
No, I don't. I think what we need to be mindful of is the districts being in balance population-wise. We are charged with doing that. We are also supposed to follow some of those same redistricting principles that the Independent Redistricting Commission did, keeping communities of interest together, competitiveness. And then we also need to be mindful of Voting Rights Act provisions dealing with majority-minority districts. And that is something that we have to keep in mind with specific regard to districts 2 and 5.
2 and 5 being heavily Latino or heavily Native American?
Mostly heavily Latino, yes.
Gotcha.
Because there's the Native American population is throughout the county, but also pretty heavily in District 3 because of the locations of the Tohono O'odham Nation and lands of the Pasquayaqui tribe.
We have a question in chat from Dr. Barbara Warren. She wonders, what is the county doing to address extreme heat protection for homeless people, manufactured home residents, and all other vulnerable populations, including all of us, I suppose, if the grid goes down?
I appreciate that question. We do operate, as does the city, cooling centers during periods of extreme heat. The biggest issue that we have had with those cooling centers is getting folks in the homeless community to make use of them. There are often trust issues with people in the homeless community about coming to a cooling center or even a shelter. And that is a challenge that we deal with during times of both extreme heat and extreme cold. There are also programs within the that can be accessed through the Community and Workforce Development Department that use a combination of local and federal grant funds that we get that can help low-income homeowners to upgrade their properties to deal with extreme heat and extreme cold. And so I'd certainly encourage anybody that has an interest in that area to contact the Community and Workforce Development Department, and they can help you to get not only to the resources that we offer, but they also are aware of the resources that the City of Tucson and the other jurisdictions offer as well.
Barbara has a follow-up. She would like to know if you have thoughts or plans for how to replace those state gasoline tax revenues as we make the transition to electric vehicles and those revenues decline.
Yeah, I think we still, and the County Supervisors Association, Barbara, has been in favor of this for years, and there are representatives of both parties on the County Supervisors Association, and believe me, we have a bipartisan agreement that regardless of the reduced number of gasoline-powered vehicles, we still need to raise the gasoline tax that, as I said, hasn't been raised in 30 years. But there also needs to be, in terms of the state funds that all jurisdictions rely on, there certainly needs to be, as we move into a time where there are fewer and fewer gas-powered vehicles, there needs to be a reassessment by the state administration and the legislature as to how those local funds for transportation are distributed to both counties and cities.
Lillian Fox, please unmute yourself.
Your cooling centers are not pleasant places to be, but the libraries are great. The library's currently on really reduced hours, so why not increase the hours and include them in your plans for cooling centers?
I love that idea, Lillian, and I will absolutely mention it to the acting county administrator and also Ms. Mathewson, who oversees the consolidated library district. I do know that the libraries were used for distribution of food during the pandemic. So it certainly is not unprecedented for the libraries to be used to meet needs in the community.
Rex, I have a question for you, and it concerns the commission that runs the Pima County Fairgrounds, where the gun show is held 4 times a year. My understanding is that there have been some changes and improvements on that commission in terms of gun safety. Can you enlighten me a little bit about that?
I can, Larry. And what I'm going to encourage you to do is look at the agenda for the March 1st Board of Supervisors meeting, because Supervisor Grijalva and I asked the county attorney's office a significant number of questions about the powers of both the Fair Commission and the Board of Supervisors in terms of navigating within state laws that restrict the ability of both bodies to deal with that issue of gun shows at the fairgrounds. Now, as you know, because I have shared a previous legal opinion from Ms. Conover's office with you and with the group that you're working with, we have to remove attorney-client privilege from any opinion that we release to the public. And what we're going to be talking about on March 1st is removing attorney-client privilege from the latest opinion that we've gotten from the county attorney on the powers of both the Fair Commission and the Board of Supervisors to navigate those state laws. It is frustrating. It is almost maddening because this is a matter of not just public health and safety. It's also a matter of local control. There are significant restrictions on what local governments are able to do in this area. We are trying to navigate that issue, working with the county attorney, and we will have an update for you as soon as we're able to release that latest opinion.
Thanks very much. I'll look forward to reading that. Let me try to get to Mike Bryan, who has got a question from the chat. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, well, my suggestion for everybody is get out and work for those legislative candidates because we need to take over the state legislature if we want to do anything significant about gun control. But my question for Rex is, we have all been, well, I myself have been very surprised at how much our public health efforts really rely on county officials, especially the county health directors, to really manage a pandemic like we're going through right now. I'm wondering what your thoughts and ideas are regarding how to improve our performance here in the United States, as we have been pretty much the worst in the developed world in terms of reacting to a pandemic. How can we improve the situation for the future so that when we inevitably face another pandemic, we are more prepared and better positioned to handle it and contain it?
Counties, as a matter of Arizona state law, are the public health authorities for their regions. And so what you saw in Pima County was that virtually all of the testing during the pandemic has been done by the county or by people that we have contracted with.
Yeah.
All of the vaccines being rolled out have been done by the county or other organizations that we have contracted with. The biggest takeaway that I have had from this entire experience, Mike, is that the reason the United States the chief reason the United States leads the world in the number of coronavirus cases and the number of deaths from the coronavirus is that we failed at the beginning of the pandemic and throughout it to unite behind a common set of facts about this virus and how to respond to it. As a result, you have had a patchwork quilt of efforts around the country at the federal level, at the state level, at the local level. And what we have been frustrated with in Pima County, honestly, has been our partnership with state government. In the early going, most of the funds that were supposed to be used to reimburse local governments for their pandemic costs, those federal monies were sent to the state and then dispersed to the local governments. We still have not gotten all of the federal funds that we are entitled to from those pandemic relief bills that were passed in Congress. I recently asked my colleagues in the County Supervisors Association if they have had similar issues in their counties. All 14 of them have, in terms of getting reimbursement from the state of those federal funds that we're entitled to. When the vaccines were being rolled out, the state never got enough vaccine to any of the 15 counties. Instead, they opened up those big points of distribution in Maricopa County. They took one of our points of distribution on the U of A campus. They were responsible for the federal program, administering the federal program to deliver vaccines to our senior care facilities, skilled nursing and assisted living facilities. In Pima County, about 60 of those facilities, for some reason, we never heard why, didn't get signed up for the federal program. And so it became the county's responsibility to get into those skilled nursing and assisted living facilities and vaccinate their residents and their employees. That really is the bottom line for me, is that we never as a country united behind a common set of facts about this virus and how to respond to it. And that is fundamentally a failure of leadership. It is a failure of especially the previous presidential administration and the current gubernatorial administration, where politicians were substituting their judgment and opinions for the counsel and advice of public health and medical experts.
Well, Rex, thanks very much. We've run out of time, and I know that there are still a couple of people who have questions for you. So would you please tell us, how can Democrats get a hold of you? How can we find out what you're working on, and how can we support you?
Well, the best way to get a hold of me directly is to email me, and don't use the District 1 email address. Use rex.scott@pima.gov. That email comes to me directly, and I'll be happy to respond to anybody in writing or give them a call if they prefer to have a phone conversation. You can also call our office at 724-2738 if you want to set up a meeting either at the office or in a place that's more convenient for you.
Well, thank you very much, Rex, for taking time out of your busy day. It's always great to hear from you. And with that, I'm going to draw the meeting to a close and look forward to seeing you all next Monday at the next meeting of Democrats of Greater Tucson. Bye, Mike.
Thank you. Thanks very much. Have a good day.